What a fantastic few days for both Tesla and Tesla shareholders. Of course, we've had the shareholder meeting, which is a very anticipated event because, of course, there was two really crucial important outcomes from that event. Number one, we were going to find out whether or not Elon Musk's compensation plan got reapproved, which originally got approved back in 2018, but a whole ordeal happened, as you'll probably know by this point now, and we needed to hear if it got reapproved. Second, we needed to know whether or not Tesla was going to be moved from Delaware into Texas. We did it, guys. We did it. Both of those things have been successful. I was, of course, very relieved, as I'm sure you were watching this video, to hear that both passed. And they passed quite significantly as well. 63% voted for the Texas redomestication and 72% voted for Elon's compensation plan, which I believe that 72% for Elon's compensation plan was very similar to the percentage that took place back in 2018. This now goes ahead to the judge and actually hopefully should prove that back in 2018, us retail investors were not misled. We absolutely knew what we were voting for, and hopefully this just means that the compensation plan will actually get approved now that there's all this backing. So what will now happen in terms of the move to Texas is that Tesla will file the paperwork to actually legally do that move. And actually, they've already done it. They didn't waste any time. As soon as they got this approval, the outcome of the shareholder meeting, the vote, they submitted the paperwork. They were not wasting any time. They absolutely needed and wanted to get out of Delaware. I've spoken about it before, but this move to Texas is just so important because it's going to bring a sense of a fresh start. It's going to bring a breath of fresh air for Tesla, because what it means is that hopefully something like this, a mess like this, will never happen again. The situation in Texas compared to Delaware for a business to be running is much better. But this is really positive because this now means that we can all just focus and we can all just move into the next growth phase for Tesla. And it means that Elon is going to feel appreciated and supported as he moves Tesla through that next era. So as part of the shareholder meeting, if you guys didn't watch it, we had the outcome of the votes announced, which was amazing. Then we had some proposals by shareholders, which was not interesting. Wouldn't recommend that you go back and watch that. I would skip over that part. And then we moved on to the shareholder meeting, the portion whereby Elon gave a presentation. And he started with a dance, just like I wanted, and it was absolutely fantastic. So let me just put a little clip of that in here.
Hot damn, I love you guys.
A lot of things were said during this presentation. A lot of incredibly bullish things. Some of the most bullish things I've actually ever heard Elon say, in my opinion. And there was so much stuff that I'll spend much more time as the days and the weeks go on discussing all of them. But in this episode, I want to make sure I touch on the real highlights, the most important things that you need to know if you didn't have a chance to watch that shareholder meeting. But before we get into those, I saw this post and I want to share this with you. Basically, Whole Mars Catalog, Whole Mars blog on X, who you should go and follow. Great Tesla information, tweeted Elon Musk, posted to Elon Musk, whatever, and said, okay, Elon, we got you the options. Now you have to make Tesla the most valuable company on earth. Deal? Elon came back with a simple 3-letter word and said, yes. So it absolutely seems that Elon is very much focused and aligned to grow Tesla to the most valuable company on earth. And you will see as I go through the highlights of his speech during the shareholder meeting that is exactly what he plans to do, and he very much thinks Tesla can get there. Actually, that's an understatement. He not only thinks Tesla can become the most valuable company on earth, but he thinks it can 10x the current most valuable company. We'll get onto that in just a minute. One thing that I think he said quite early on in the meeting, if I remember rightly, is we're not just starting a new chapter for Tesla, we are starting a new book. And I think what he means by this, or how I interpret it anyway, is that the things that Tesla are now working on and the next things that will be released by Tesla, namely autonomous driving FSD, the bot, all these big things that we're now anticipating are big enough and deserving enough of their own entire book. It's not just a little new chapter, it's not just a little tweak on a current vehicle. These are big things that are going to completely disrupt and change not only industries, but the economy. It's going to change the economy. He spoke about how FSD is improving exponentially, which we kind of already knew, but he now said that they are really, really quickly moving towards fully unsupervised driving. I do think we are starting to see that, with all the footage coming out and all the data coming out to show how they're progressing with FSD, it does very much seem to be that they are getting to that point now whereby the iterations between drives are just not happening as frequently. And also I've spoken to people that are using this technology, and what they're saying as well is that when they are having to, sort of interact with the steering wheel, interact with the system, it's from a place of preference, not necessity, not a safety concern. They're not touching the steering wheel because otherwise the car's going to hit them and the FSD technology has gone its own, done its own thing. It's not that. It's just that they have a little bit of a preference, and that's all getting sorted out as well. But it's getting very good very quickly. And obviously it does get a little bit harder as time goes on, because if you've got many, many vehicles in the fleet all having to be improved and iterated quite frequently, that's easy to do. But when there's only little problems popping up every 6 months, 7 months, it's quite hard to then train that neural net on them iterations because they're not happening as frequently, meaning you have to wait more time before you can do those adjustments, if that makes sense. He then said autonomy could add $5 trillion in value to Tesla. $5 trillion, trillion. It doesn't even flow out of my mouth. I'm so used to saying million or billions when I'm making these videos. But that does seem to be in agreement with ARK Invest's bullish targets that have recently just come out. So just on autonomy alone, Elon's pretty sure that they can 10x Tesla's current value. That seems pretty surreal, right? That seems quite crazy to 10x just on one little thing. I say little, it's definitely not little. But it then gets even more wild, as he said himself, when you start throwing in Optimus into the mix. He reinstated the hypothesis that not only I've had, but many of you have had, many people have been saying for quite a while, that there will be some cars that are, some Tesla cars that are Tesla owned, but there will also be a fleet of customer owned cars whereby it's going to be a mix of Airbnb and Uber. So there'll be a Tesla owned fleet, which is acting a bit like Uber. And then there'll be this Airbnb element whereby if you have a Tesla you're a customer, you have a Tesla vehicle, you can add or subtract it to the fleet at any time. So let's just say you own a Tesla and you're going away for 4 days on holiday. You're not going to be using your car during those 4 days. You can add it to the fleet and that car can make you money whilst you're not using it. He said Tesla will take a portion of that revenue and keep it for themselves, but the majority of the money will actually go to the owner of the vehicle. We don't know percentages just yet, but my best guess at this current time would be an 80-20 split. So 80% goes to the owner of the Tesla vehicle, 20% goes to Tesla themselves. We don't know, like I said, but I'm thinking that makes most sense at this current time. He did also point out that yes, he is optimistic. He does seem to be pathologically optimistic. I think those are his words used. And yes, because of this, he does sometimes miss timelines. He's a little bit optimistic here and there with the timelines. But he made the very, very good point that he not only always delivers, but if he wasn't optimistic, most of the things wouldn't exist that exist in the world of Tesla today. The factories like they are wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be the Cybertruck, I'm sure, without Elon Musk there, and many other things as well. I really think it takes someone so ambitious and someone with Elon's psychology and Elon's brain to actually make these things that seem impossible happen. And it's these things that are going to make such a big difference to the world and already are. Like I said, he then moved on to Optimus, and this is where in his mind and in my mind and probably in your mind, the valuation just gets absolutely crazy. But when you put the numbers in, even if you just do a very, very brief napkin sort of math calculation, they get crazy and they get big very, very quickly. It's because it's an undiscovered territory. We've never had a humanoid robot before. We've never had autonomous driving. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know how much it's going to disrupt an entire industry. And if it's going to be the way that we think, then absolutely the valuation takes off. It takes off to a whole new level. He thinks everyone in the world will want and need a Tesla bot, an Optimus bot. Now, of course, not everyone is going to be able to afford one. We're going to talk about how much they'll cost in just a minute. Not everyone will be able to afford one at first, especially, even if they do want one. But ratio-wise, even if not everybody wants one, ratio from human bot to humans could still be crazy because businesses alone could order so many. And that could shove the ratio of bots to humans right up. So he's thinking that it will definitely be a 1-to-1 ratio, but more likely it will be a 2-to-1. And I've even heard him in the past say it could be between anywhere between 2 and 10 bots per humans, which to me sounds crazy and a little bit scary, but it does seem to be the natural direction as to which we're heading in. He confirmed, as again we kind of already knew, that the use cases for Optimus will be very, very wide reaching. They'll be able to teach your kids languages, to working in factories, to everything in between. So on to how much Optimus will actually cost. So he believes that Tesla, once at scale, so this isn't happening at first, this is once at scale, production scale, they can make an Optimus bot for $10,000. He pointed out that regardless of the price, they can definitely make them for less than they make a car for. Then he said, again, once at scale, they should be able to sell them for around $20,000 per unit. So like I said, even at scale, these things are going to cost $20,000 roughly. Not everyone is going to be able to afford them, but not everyone has to buy them. Number one, businesses are going to buy loads. That's going to shoot the ratio up. And number two, you're not going to have to just pay a one-off fee to buy this thing. Just like some people can't afford a car, they decide to rent them, they decide to loan them out. They pay a monthly fee. That's going to happen with the bot as well. So anyway, with his calculations, he thinks that Optimus will bring $1 trillion a year into Tesla in profit. I'll just repeat that. $1 trillion a year in profit for Tesla off Optimus alone. He went on to say a $20 trillion market cap on Optimus alone for Tesla. That's how crazy it's getting. We don't know if that's going to happen. We have no proof. This may seem very, very far reaching for a lot of people and pretty much like the impossible. Then he said this: I think it's in the realm of possibility that Tesla becomes 10 times more valuable than the current most valuable company in the world. This, of course, would put Tesla at a market cap of over $30 trillion. I think Microsoft's the most valuable at the moment at about $3 trillion, so 10 times that, just over 30. Just on the subject of Optimus actually, he said that they are still making a lot of good progress there and that by 2026, Optimus should be able to do a wide range of tasks, including ones that it hasn't been trained to do. It can learn by just basically watching videos and learning in the same way that us humans learn. And he also said, I believe, that there will be about 1,000, if not a few thousand bots in Tesla factories next year, working, doing useful work. This means that Optimus will be way more generalized, meaning it will be much, much more useful. And remember, just even when we have these bots in the factories, in Tesla factories, we're not even thinking about other companies' factories. We're not even thinking about loaning them to consumers or having them in homes, selling them. This already makes a massive difference to Tesla. It changes Tesla's productivity. It changes their efficiencies. It changes their cost of goods sold, their margins. All of these things start improving because the bots will be doing useful work. We did recently learn that there are already 2 bots in the Tesla factories working. We didn't know what sort of tasks that they were doing. I said that it's probably going to be not that useful work at the moment, maybe just moving something from point A to point B. And we've now found out that that's exactly what they're doing. They're basically handling cells and placing them in shipping containers. Not the most revolutionary work right now, but trust me when I say that that will quickly progress. So back onto this whole rent versus buy thing when it comes to the bots. He said that Tesla will offer them both to be purchased and to rent, but the former will come first, which I think makes logical sense. Tesla will rent them because that ultimately means for the first sort of however long that they do this for, until they announce that they're going to be letting people purchase them as well, it will help them retain control. It will help them get a sense of what people are using them for. Because ultimately, if you start just selling these and you don't actually have control to get them back, they could get into the wrong hands very quickly. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. I do want to talk more and do a much deeper dive into Optimus in a future video because there is so much more to break down here. But let me just really quickly tell you some other highlights from this meeting. Number 1, Cybertruck could go international next year. At the moment, the Cybertruck is only available in North America. It's not in Europe. It's not anywhere else in the world. And he did state, I think, that the regulations are going to have to be looked at and maybe a European version or a Chinese version will have to be made specifically for those markets. But very, very interesting. I still can't imagine them here on the UK roads, but I very much welcome them. It will be the day that I see a Cybertruck driving alongside me, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild because we just don't have vehicles like that here in the UK. I know that you don't in America either, until the Cybertruck, but you are at least used to quite big vehicles. We rarely even see a pickup truck here, especially where I live. We learned that although we had a lot of saga and a lot of drama with the supercharging network, mass media saying this and this and this and this happening not that long ago, they are still working on expanding this and they are still leading the way. And I think they said this year, I think we will deploy more superchargers that are actually working than the rest of the industry combined. So again, this is a moat of theirs. This is an area where yet again, they are leading. The Tesla Semi vehicle has been approved to start volume production, which is quite a big deal. And this is just going to save companies so much money. Like Elon said during the meeting, if you want to save money as a business, which every business does, and you don't want to waste money, you're going to have to change from a traditional truck to a semi-truck because it's EV. I think everyone left this meeting feeling very optimistic, very bullish, but also a little bit, our heads were a little bit blown by how crazy the valuation of Tesla could possibly get if things are executed. These things do have to take place for this to happen. You can't just promise it and then not deliver. I think that it will happen. I think that it's going to be a very interesting next decade for Tesla especially. But we also kind of got the reconfirmation that Tesla is leading and is showing dominance in the AI space, which every company wants to be the leader in this space right now. And they are coming ahead of a lot of the other mega cap companies in terms of real world AI. There are also 3 new vehicles to be unveiled. I think they're going to be shown at the Robotaxi event on the 8th of August. People are a little bit divided in their opinion as to what these vehicles are going to be. I think definitely we're going to have the Robotaxi, obviously, and a cyber cab. And in the third vehicle, some people are saying it's going to be the Roadster. Some people are saying that it's going to be an 8 to 10 seater van. So let me know what you think about this whole shareholder meeting. Are you now feeling more optimistic than ever? And what do you think those vehicles are going to be? What are they going to be when they're unveiled on the 8th of the 8th? Let me know all that in the comments below. On tomorrow's episode, I'm going to do a deep dive into the new ARK Invest model and price predictions for Tesla. So make sure you're subscribed and you come back for that because there is a lot to talk about. If you want to watch these episodes ad-free, get exclusive and extended content and a bunch of other perks, become an insider of the Inner Circle Vault. Link in the description.